Hello and welcome back to the Data Privacy Lawyer. Today's review is going to be on some AI terms. So we're going to be looking at this organization called Silverchair. And for anybody that's new, my name is Funmi Owolabi and I'm the principal attorney at the firm. If you're interested in any of the firm's offerings, you can take a look at the description below. But essentially what the firm does is provides legal advice to businesses on how to create, optimize, and improve their privacy programs. So let's take a look at this section, the Artificial Intelligence Product Terms of Use. So here's the name of the entity. Here's the day it was last updated. These are things that I always look at. I'll tell you why. If the products have changed, what this date represents is it represents the last time that this legal entity reviewed these terms and made adjustments based on the products and services that are applicable to the business. And the reason that's important is because if these products have changed, let's say, for example, any of the products related to the AI services, if they've made a change that impacts data protection, because we're a data protection firm, we look at the data protection provisions. There are different factors, legal factors, that influence the terms that a business offers to its customers. But when we're looking at data protection, we're looking at what is the impact of personal data on each of these products and services that collectively make up the AI services, and have those been presented in the terms to the customers so the customers understand how their personal data is impacted. That's basically what this means. If you don't have this date, it may mean that you haven't had time to update your terms, and it may mean that your terms of use aren't reflective of what your business is doing now. Your business is ever evolving, right? Every business is ever evolving. So you need to be cognizant that whatever it is that you are distributing to your customers reflects what your business is doing now, which is why this date is so important. So it looks like this organization has some AI products and prototypes, and these terms will govern your access to. I want to talk a bit about this and use of, right? When we talk about processing of personal data is any operation or set of operation on personal data. If you're accessing data, then you're processing it. If you're using it, let's say you're using it to build a spreadsheet, you're processing personal data. The reason why privacy is so relevant to AI and AI services is because the AI service generally is like any other tool. Now, that really depends. I say that very loosely because I don't know every AI tool. Nobody does, right? But what I can say is that for the AI tools that I personally have seen, most of them have required at least some login credentials, right? Whenever I use ChatGPT, I am required to enter in my email address and password before I'm able to use the platform. ChatGPT is an AI tool. And a lot of AI tools operate in a similar manner in that they have a username and password. Both a username and password are personal data, and businesses need to take that into consideration. The second impact on AI services that implicate privacy is some of the information that people put into AI constitutes personal data. Now, depending on which party is responsible for storing that data will determine the relationship that an entity has with the customer and vice versa. But there's a lot of data flow information that's required of a business. One, they should understand it themselves. And two, they should be able to articulate it to the customer so the customer can evaluate what the risk is to their business when another third party is processing their personal data. Here's a description. The AI services include AI features that complement our other services. Certain of these features connect with various third-party large language models with the aim of providing efficient information retrieval, etc., etc. The AI service may allow you to submit text queries or other inputs which we refer to input. So I was just talking about this earlier. It may be that the AI services allow you to submit these. When you submit these, there is a process that occurs where this organization is effectively intaking whatever it is that you've put into their system, their repository. And then there is an algorithm that affects your input and provides you an output. This process is the responsibility of this organization. If your input is personal data and your output is subsequent a response to the personal data, those are identifiers that this organization is then subsequently responsible for. Now, I add a caveat there because sometimes organizations will delegate the storage of the input and output data to a third party. It's really up to the business to, one, provide all of the information required for the Privacy Council to make the determination that is reflective of what the business is doing with their AI, and then subsequently be transparent about the effect on the customer in adherence to the privacy laws. So we can see here The data set of source information customers may load into the AI services that the AI service reviews to provide output in response to the input. So essentially, even without reading this, I already knew and had just described to you what it is that is happening when you're using AI and what the implications are on privacy. Now, not every AI tool processes personal data. I think there was another review I did on this channel about an organization that provides incident response. Some of these AI features and tools are really for technical use. So the data that's inputted is not personal data, neither is the output. That being said, users of the tools are still required to input their username and password at a minimum. So businesses should still factor that and take that into consideration when engaging with a third party. Accessing the AI feature as a user of a customer. You agree that it is solely the customer's responsibility to inform you and any other users of any relevant customer policies and practices and any settings that may impact the processing of content. Now, I want to talk about this word. I've talked about this severally on my channel. Most organizations that are on a global spectrum are going to use the terminology processing as opposed to use or access, because processing is a very broad term in the data protection space that covers an operation or set of operation on personal data. And there's lots of things that the data protection laws say can be involved with processing, but essentially the businesses are trying to cover any time personal data is implicated. Now, they've been strategic about using the word content. Without understanding more about the products, I can't opine to what content might include, but it may include personal data. And I presume that that's going to be covered in the internal documentation that they've put together prior to the creation of their AI services. That's something that's generally reviewed and signed off on by a privacy counsel. I also wanted to say something about the fact that generally these terms of service that I've been reviewing, they're not reflective of the exclusive terms that an organization uses when engaging with a customer. They form a part of the contract review lifecycle that a business will distribute to its customers. Generally, with entities that are implicated by the data protection laws, they'll have something called a data processing agreement that is a separate contractual document outside of the terms of use. Some organizations are going to deal with personal data in their terms of use. Some are going to deal with it exclusively in the master service agreement or in the data processing agreement, because that really describes what the relationship is between the data processor, that's the provider of the service, and the data controller is the customer that signs up for the services. And it outlines what they will be complying with under the data protection laws exclusively. Sometimes those are not dictated in the terms of use. I think it's valuable, though, for organizations to provide insight into input and output data, particularly when the use of a particular service has artificial intelligence. There are very savvy technologies that are coming out and tools that are being created by entities. And it's important, at least from a transparency perspective, to let your customers know what it is that you're going to be doing with their data, even if the data that is inputted is not exclusively personal data. I'm hoping to find good examples in 2026 of organizations that do ingest personal data almost exclusively as input data, because I think it would be valuable for customers that are considering engaging with certain entities to understand what the risks and ramifications are of engaging with such provider. So I really hope you enjoyed this review. If you have comments or questions, leave a comment below and I'll see you in another review.